Just to start, I want to say I never doubted Sean going into this title fight, and I got a lot of shit for that, but I knew he could do it. That shit hasn't exactly stopped, and I'm kind of getting tired of hearing it. Why he's still a bad fighter, and excuses for Izzy, so I put this together. My first point to make here is Izzy doesn't deserve a rematch. This wasn't a close fight at all. Izzy's also 1-2 in his last 3 fights, and 4-3 in his last 7. I don't know anyone who would deserve a title shot with that kind of a record. The division needs to move on. I think there's other people at the top especially who are way more deserving of that shot right now. Jared Cannonier, I think, is at the top of the list. I mean, his and Sean's fight was super close. Plus, he was already the backup for this last fight. Next, I would probably say a DDP at the #1 ranking while being the original plan for the fight as well. And then so on. I really don't understand why Kamzat's name is thrown around so much, other than the fact that he's just a hype train. I mean, he's only had 6 fights in the UFC. And the top contender he's beaten, Gilbert Burns, was in a completely different weight class. Maybe after the Costa fight, but I'm not so sure when the division has such stacked contenders. If Izzy comes back after another win in the top 5 or so, that's another talk for him. But until then, I don't see it, and I'm far from alone in this. Next, I just want to say Sean fought a perfect fight. And I'll go more into detail in a little bit on how he did that, but I just want to get this notion out of the way that Sean's defense is terrible and has holes in it. Everyone's game, everyone's defense has holes, but people are painting it like Sean has these glaring, massive mistakes and gaps. If anyone's game's been exposed, it's definitely been Israel Adesanya's. Truth is, I think Sean has some of the best defense in the UFC. It might even be one of the best for MMA. It's not conventional, it looks like shit, I get it. Not only do the stats prove this clearly wrong, but it's just watching him, it's obvious. Yes, he fights with his hands down, but it's not in the same way as like Bobby Green. His hands are nowhere to be seen and attempts to slip punches as his primary defense instead of blocking, so that he can like fire from the hip and it'd be much more of a surprise whenever he does strike. Sean's stance is unique, and while being low, it's still in like a guarding position. It's a give and take with what he does. He allows himself to see way more this way, and at no point outside of an exchange is his vision really blocked. It also allows him to see and block takedowns with way more ease than a traditional guard, being much closer to where he needs to be. However, it obviously leaves him open for strikes, specifically combinations and mix-ups going from the body then to the head. One of the biggest criticisms I've seen and heard from the likes of even Mighty Mouse is that he overreacts. This is partially true, but I don't know if I'd call it overreacting or just having bigger reactions and movements. What a lot of his blocking is basically a modified Philly show. Not just using your hands to block a strike, but using like your whole arm to create a shield almost, allowing with strikes to just glance off your elbow and arm. Paired with a shoulder roll and good head movement, set up for an effective ass defense while leaving openings to counter strike. The genius in this technique for Sean shows when he can not only block a punch this way, but parry it and throw a quick strike on a now open guard. Sean shows out best when he's in the pocket, not just because he's not scared to take a hit to get a hit, which I'll get to in a minute, but because he is running so many calculations when he's just standing dead in front of someone. This is on full display, especially in his last fight against Izzy. I think MMA Guru probably said it best.
I don't know if anyone realizes this. I have not done combat sports for long in my life, but I've done it enough to realize this. The fucking mental exhaustion that Sean Strickland's style takes, he actually might have genius IQ. He has a different brain for fighting. To be that strict in a fight for 25 minutes, it's like when you know these guys play chess and they lose weight. You know what I'm saying? He actually has a fucking reptile brain out there, man. Strickland's brain, like, what do I parry? What do I not? I've got to stay tucked up. What do I throw here? His whole thing is like fucking genius paranoia. That's all it is. Autistic genius, yeah. He spars daily, yeah. And he hones it. He's honed that ability, I guess.
In the day, man, you just go up there. You just, you just embrace the autism, and
He's playing high-level chess match when he stands right in someone's face and only moves forward. I don't think it's just a high fight IQ, but also a super good fight sense that only comes with the amount of sparring he does. He seems to be overreacting because he's trying to stay ahead of what looks like is coming. This can be seen as biting at feints, but I don't really see it as that. I see it kind of as the opposite of biting at feints, putting your defense in a spot that even your opponent can't figure out how to get around, Whether it was intended to be a feint or not, your opponent is second guessing to even throw. It's great because we can even look at a fight where he wasn't overreacting and didn't react at all.
Good because he's.
And Sean's such a savage. He got knocked out by Alex, and he said, "Fuck, man, how'd you do that? Show me how to do that shit." And he wouldn't just train with him. And I mean, it clearly shows in his game that he knew he had holes, and Alex exposed them, and he wouldn't learn how to fix it. When you point out one of the greatest defensive boxers of all time, Floyd Mayweather, a man who is 50-0 and barely ever hurt in a fight, you see the greatest mastering display of the Philly show. Watching it look super tight, crisp, and clean, he seems to be ahead of every strike while leaving ample chances for him to fire back and leave opponents stunned. However, when you compare it to how Sean does it, I understand when people see the holes. He doesn't stay quite so close to his body as you normally see it. One of the big differences is to also take in the size of the gloves. I mean, big ass pillows on your hands block hell of a lot more from a punch than tiny straps on your knuckles. I don't blame Sean for wanting there to be space between where he's stopping a strike and his face. Knockouts happen through the guard in MMA, which brings us to the next difference. It's not just punches being blocked, there's also kicks. Izzy has a nasty left leg, from powerful calf kicks to his impressive question mark kick. These vital tools were all but negated from Israel in their fight, leaving one of the biggest methods of his distance management gone. None of this is to say I think more people should adopt this style or attempt to learn it. Objectively, it is bad. Especially when you put it all in with his flat-footedness, it just shouldn't work on paper. I don't think it's something that just anyone can copy and recreate, or we'll ever see anyone adopt it to success anytime soon. Sean has simply just perfected it through hours and hours of constant sparring day in and day out. A relentless grind that some of even the best of the best can't do or don't even want to do.
You guys only get one brain. Save it. You guys don't need to do it. You sparred enough. You train enough. We know how to punch someone. You know how to slip a punch. Why are you gonna take unnecessary damage before the main game? You know, and that's just the way I think.
Because of this absolute war mentality in the gym, it has honed Sean's style into what it looks like such a basic, one-dimensional, uninventive, elementary style. To a perfect crafted katana with the ability to strike while parrying, block while attacking, and unrelenting pressure while defending to just utterly melt his opponent. His timing seems to be near impeccable perfection, down to what seems like fractions of a second sometimes. Utilizing jabs to keep a range that favors him even in matchups with a reach disadvantage. Popping out such a crisp jab creates setups for his two so well and consistently. It's a constant pressure right in your face where he wants to stay. And he can keep that pace up for hours without so much extra explosive movement. I can probably go on for hours breaking down all of what he does so well, but I need to clear up what really matters. The pinnacle moment of his art's perfection and his display. His dominance of Israel Adesanya. Alright, so coming in the first round, I wasn't too sure what to expect. I knew it was either going to be a classic feeling out kind of round, like it turned out it was, or it was just going to be, I was scared, but Sean getting rocked and then possibly the end of the fight. But I knew if he could make it past the first round and he looked good there, I mean, he was going to look good the rest of the fight. And this first round really dictated how the rest of the fight was going to go. And at the time, didn't know it until the very end of the round. And there's a big hint at how it was going to end up going for the rest of the rounds. But obviously, I mean, everything Izzy was thrown at him. He was kind of blocking. He was kind of getting the distance down on how to get in. And we see Izzy, he stays backing up this entire round and pretty much this entire fight, which really took him out of the game entirely. But he didn't even get the chance. Like, he always tries to back up on the fence, and that's what he did when he knocked out Alex. But he didn't get the chance to really play possum on the fence. And when he was on the fence trying to bait Sean in, we see at the end of this round where Sean doesn't overreact when he's on the fence. He doesn't overcommit. He doesn't go in too hard. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't chase him down. He just keeps cutting him off. And we see just at the end of this round this glorious clip. But I mean, the setup for the shot was just perfect. He kept backing Izzy up, and Izzy kept trying to throw out kicks, trying to keep that distance where he wanted it. But Sean was checking him. He checked the leg kick, checked the body kicks, and then he just had him right on the fence. And he figured out when Izzy was going to throw, and he just counter threw perfectly. And if you notice, I mean, every time Izzy throws a kick, he blocks it, and he just keeps moving forward right afterwards. And that's how he kept it in that boxing distance that he wanted. Now, the second round, I mean, it went to Izzy, and technically he had more significant strike, but my problem with it, I think it was another Sean round. I think Izzy had one moment in here where he actually, like, hit Sean good, but most of his shots, I mean, they're either all rolled with, blocked, or partially blocked, and there was nothing really clean except for one or two shots. And I mean, it was like this through the whole fight. And Sean was just, through the whole fight, I mean, round for round, it's almost the same thing happened every round. Aside from, I mean, the big knockdown in the first one, I mean, there's some good hits in between here and there, but it was nothing crazy where someone was getting rocked and just looked like they were about to be finished. It was really just, Sean just kept marching forward. He just had, like, laser focus. He never took the bait too much. He never went with Izzy, overcommitted on the cage. And that's the mistake a lot of guys make. Izzy's backing up on the cage, ready to bounce back in a lot of these situations, but Sean never just rushes in. He's always just hit him and cut him off again, hit him and then cut him off again, hit him and then cut him off. But the big, I think, determining factor for him to even get him to the cage and get him backing up like this is he just demeaned his kicks to just nothing. I mean, he kept him in the boxing range that he wanted instead of the kickboxing range that Izzy always likes to be in. If Izzy can't be in that kickboxing range, you could see, I mean, it was such a hard fight for him to control. And if you look back on, like, the Gastelum fight, it's a similar situation where Gastelum was just up in his face. I mean, Izzy was obviously landing great shots in there and rocking Gastelum, but he could never get the control like he always does. He's almost an anti-counter striker, the perfect matchup against Adesanya, and was so overlooked coming into this fight. A simple 1-2 over and over and over to the point where Israel had no answers. When you're ready for a counter striker to throw looping punches, roll the shoulder and throw down the middle. You're going to block and hit your target before they ever land. Keep them backpedaling and they're fighting themselves for half the battle. They can't possibly stop to set up or cut an angle. You're already there with a simple jab. Is this the game plan that should be used in every matchup against a counter striker? Probably not. Like I said before, Sean's fighting style is very unique, and I don't think it can just be copy and pasted on another fighter and find nearly the same kind of success. Is this the game plan for how to beat Izzy? Maybe so, or at least an outline. It seemed to be foreshadowed by his fight against Yoel Romero, but with such little pressure from Yoel, there was hardly any success from either parties in that fight. At the end of the day, styles make fights, and no two fights will ever be the exact same, so who knows? Chalk it up to Adesanya having an off night or not being his best all you want. No matter what, Sean Strickland fought the perfect fight. One of the best fights of his life. After watching him fight for years, continuing to grow as a fighter and personality, just to see the culmination of years of hard work, dedication, sticking to a near perfect game plan, above all else, it's against the best that the division has seen in years. It's just incredible. I was literally gripping my seat in anticipation the entire time. By the end of round 3, it felt pretty clear to me how this fight was going to end. And even when it was over, when I knew Sean won, I still cried when Bruce Buffer said "No!" and even getting choked up writing it. Sean Strickland, congratulations, you goddamn American hero, for fighting the CCP and winning the UFC Middleweight World Championship title. Thank you, sir, for making middleweight great again.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am with the new middleweight champion of the world, Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, how good does that feel, man?
Am I dreaming? Am I gonna wake up? Somebody hit me. Oh my God, you guys. Literally, bro, never in a million years would I thought I'd be here, man. Like, I don't probably must, but I'm trying to keep my together right now.
Sean, everything you have been through, my man, in your life has always propelled you on to greater things. Those life lessons allowed for you to put on one of the most masterful performances as a challenger and a big underdog tonight. How good does it feel, and what was your expectation going in there?
You guys know Izzy's a bad you guys. You don't fight that guy with how many highlight reel knockouts. He's beat the majority of my friends. He's beat pretty easily, so man, I was even kind of down to myself at times, but you know, I gotta say the fans in Australia, you guys motivated me. Hey, listen, not even joking around. When I'm walking in here and I heard you guys yelling, for that fourth round, when I heard you guys yelling, it fueled me, you guys. So I want to thank you guys for this win because you motivated me. Go Australia.